episode of Catch the Craze is brought to you by.
We have just a few reasons why you should pick up a copy of Gets Nearer Than My Toilet, book number 3, I Chihuahua, today. You'll join all of the others and pick up a copy today.
What's up, George? What's going on in the House of Craze tonight?
Ooh, in the House of Craze tonight, we have Mr. Caleb York. He's going to be talking about the Bouncy Ball Man, and we're going to be talking about comic book shops and are they villains?
Are they villains? That is crazy. Let's get it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. Yeah, you want to do it. Catch the Craze.
Welcome to Catch the Craze podcast. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George the Dreamer Medina. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of Catch the Craze. We are live once again with another episode. It is Tuesday, October 18th, and we are going to be talking to a creator of a comic book called The Bouncy Ball Man. Caleb York is going to be in the house in just a few minutes. We are also going to be doing a Get Your Mets segment live for the first time. Yes, the stairs are back, baby. If you haven't done so yet, though, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like. Hit that like button. Hit that like button below. Also, hit the bell so that you know when we are going live. And
Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling.
Leave a comment. And if you're in the chat right now, say what's up. Big shout out to Mr. Michael San Martino. It's been a minute.
George the Dodger Medina.
Chris is coming. She's here. She's in the house. Look at that. The team is back. Michael
this is like Mike Tyson punch out. Body blow, uppercut.
I'm Mr. Flamingo right now, bro. I'm getting it. So the team is back. I see Crystal and Michael are back in the chat. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We have a few things to talk about today, but we're gonna start with a little indie news. What up, Jay? We're gonna start with a little indie news. Sam, what do you think? Shall we?
Indie. I know that. Oh, bro, listen to the house. We got a squad up in here.
I love it. Arelis is in the house. Everybody.
Yes, indie news. It's been a minute, right?
It's been a minute.
Tops in the Bronx. Tops in the Bronx. Bengasaki.
You know what it is? We've never done this live. Usually we do this, record this, right? And then we go. But today, we're bringing you guys a live episode of Catch the Craze. Now, normally, it's getting crowded, bro. Normally, what we do is we pre-record these. Yeah, we pre-record these and then we air them on Friday. What we've decided is we're gonna not do that anymore. I mean, we may still record a couple shows, but from now on, we're gonna go live with our guests. We're going to be doing a Get Your Meds segment live with you guys so we can get feedback from you guys on the topics and things of that. I'm here for Mikey. Oh, boy, Sam. Oh, boy. Ah, the love.
Oh, say,
I love it.
can
I
you
love it. I love it. I
see
love it. I love it.
Christmas coming for George
Oh, she's
with
here.
a
She's here.
left and a
Mm,
right?
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
What's up?
Oh yeah. Oh
What's,
yeah.
what's
So
up?
yes. So this is what's gonna be. What up, Gilbert? Everybody's in the house. I love it,
I
man. I
know
love it.
it's a party
It's a party,
time.
baby. It's a party. So
Yes.
yeah. So we're gonna be talking about what we're doing on our end. We're gonna give you a little indie news. We're gonna go into get your meds, and then we're gonna bring in our guests for the last 30 minutes of the show. If you have questions for our guests, please drop them in the chat. Also, we're going to be talking about a topic today, which is about comic book shops and are they villains? And so we're going to be doing that on Get Your Meds. So if you have thoughts, we're going to discuss. We're going to do all of that live today. So it should be a fun show. But Sam, 2 more
Sammy,
days,
I jammy.
dude. D
47 hours
2
to go.
days. Oh,
47 hours to
47.
go.
Damn, it took
That's
an hour
crazy,
away.
right? I
Yes.
know. So far away. Doesn't
It's almost
anybody
over, bro.
stay in one? Anyway, yeah, so we're down to the last 47 hours of Dudarius Uranus. It's the final week. It's the final countdown.
Indeed it
So
is.
yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. We're hitting the last leg of the race. And if you haven't backed it, I'd love for you to get a copy of Disney on My Toilet. It is hilarious. It's funny. I had a great time at the Dallas Fan Festival.
Oh yeah, it was this weekend, man.
It should be a 1 day show. If they do it a 1 day show, I'll do it again. If it's a 3 day show, I won't do it again. But met a lot of new supporters there. Aurelis came through with her squad, her kids. They're amazing, and yeah, it was great, and we had a great time there. New fans, new supporters, and in fact, a lot of them follow us on me on Twitter, Instagram right now. And so I'm excited about that. And I like to get these books into everybody's hands and a lot of readers. I just got an indie comic reviewer did a video on duty, did a really nice video, good production value, good soundtrack. It was pretty cool, and gave it a thumbs up. So yeah, if you backed it and you haven't got Duty's Monsters on Planet Cthulhu, you should get that one. It's only going to be available at Kickstarter and or at a Comic Con until it runs through. And remember, the three is a 3 cover spread. But and again, Christmas is coming around the corner. So I really, if you want to get a gift for the little ones, even if it's not for yourself, there's a great Christmas gift. There's a sketchbook. There's Duty's Adventures. There's the End of My Toilet. So there's a whole lot to unwrap. And I'm already planning book 4. The launch date is January 3rd. So the good thing is that I printed everything. Everything was printed. So once the money goes into my account, it takes 14 days after the campaign is ended. I start shipping. So there was no risk to you. And the reason why I did it that way, and I took the risk, the financial risk, is because I wanted to avoid the holiday rush. I didn't want any delays. So I want to get it to you guys before that Christmas rush, before the holiday season rush. And still waiting on my short drawers needed for Baltimore Comic Con. Got to represent.
Which one? What is that?
He's still waiting on his shirt.
Who got that? Michael?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, I got you, brother. I got you. Don't you worry about a thing, bro.
So, don't you worry about a thing. What's that song? Anyway, but yeah. So, I met a parent, one of many parents, but I read this woman who actually wanted to start putting her Christmas list together, and she actually went onto Amazon and got a bunch of shirts for her grandchildren, so which is dope, which is pretty awesome. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, give it a shot. Read it. You're going to laugh. You're going to giggle. There's an educational value to it, and I know some comic readers don't want to hear education, but there's an educational value to an entertainment value to it. There's puzzles, trivia. It's very interactive and it's fun for everybody.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Next week, Cowtown. Talk to us about Cowtown, Sammy, before we move on.
Yes, I'm going to be at the Cowtown Comic Con. Yeehaw! Saturday and Sunday with fellow indie creators like Paul Gomez and Laurie Calcaterra and damn, I forget his name again. Well, the owner was on our show. The promoter, he was on our show.
Hayes.
Yeah, Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes. He is actually a comic shop owner. He's a publisher and he's a writer and he's a Comic Con promoter. So he's the quadruple threat. And so Sam got a cowboy hat. That's right, hot diggity. And yeah, so that's gonna be dope. I have a booth. It's gonna be hot. I have some things planned for it. If you are listening to this and you're in Texas and you're coming to the Cowtown Comic Con, if you're an artist or if you have a child who's an artist, Duty has a yearbook, and it's gonna be open. And I want you to sign it with your rendition of Duty, and you'll get a free bookmark or sticker, whichever you choose. Just come over to the table and do a quick sketch of Duty. Walk away with something free, and it's Duty's yearbook. And so we want to fill it up, and we want to make it interactive. And I have a lot of plans for the event. I have over 20 prints. It's gonna be fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to connecting with a lot of people. I connected with a bunch of creators at the fan festival. In fact, they're all going to be on the show. And I think that's the best part of it, the networking and just learning from each other, and just just building that network. And so I'm looking forward to doing the same thing at Cowtown. Cowtown is indie centric, so it's really heavily focused on the indie community. And I heard nothing but great things, so I'm looking forward to it. And if it does, and if it plays out the way I hope it's going to play out, I'll be there all the time.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yes, indeed. So yeah, check that out. Make sure you do so. If you haven't done so yet, follow us on our social media. Sam is at Catch the Craze. Follow me at Get Your Meds, and also go online. Go to getyourmeds.com. Get some swag. I got some stuff on the website. And so yeah, that's what we got going on. Indie news. Big shout out to a couple of our fellow indies also who also have campaigns right now. Lori Calcaterra's got Path of the Pale Rider. We have our boys KJ Murphy and John Scabalis with what is that? Road to Valhalla. Make sure you check that out.
JD Rosario.
JD Rosario. They all have campaigns. Make sure you check those out. We've been monitoring their movement, and they're doing pretty good.
Shout out to Sarah Cook. She did really well on the campaign.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. She's already into stretch goals, so check them out. So big shout out to those indies that are doing their thing.
Doing it. Yeah. So yeah, much love to all you guys out there.
Big time. And then if we forgot about you, don't be sad. We just have so much love to give.
That's it. Yeah, there's a lot. It's funny because when you back a lot of campaigns, you get all the damn alerts. And they just bang, 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 bang. And my team's like, no. And so I get the alert, like, did I get a backer? No, it's somebody else. Did I get a backer? No, it's somebody I backed. Did I get a back? No, I was like, damn. It's like Newman. But that's the name of the game.
Right? Especially when you have a campaign. I mean, that little green K comes up, and you're thinking, all right, it's a backer, and nope, it's an update. You're like, oh.
And sometimes I get like 20 updates in one day. I'm like,
it messes with your head down. Yeah. But so big shout out to all those. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit that pledge button for Sam's There's an Alien in My Toilet, which is almost done. So it's the 20th. So it'll be over on Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So around this time, the campaign would have already been done. So make sure you go there.
And if you were on my live stream today, or if you see my post from my live drawing stream, you saw me working on an homage cover to Sergeant Rock for issue number 4. And this is what it's going to look like. And this is the homage for the book 4 campaign. And it's Sergeant Rock 1977 edition. I think it was issue number 369. Crazy, huh?
Go back, kid.
And the reason why I chose that is because Sergeant Rock was the first comic I actually bought. Not that specific issue. I don't even remember which issue it was, but I went to the store. I was like, oh, they have military comics, because I was a big G.I. Joe fan. And then I saw G.I. Joe was on the shelves too. I was like, what? So that's why it's like, you know what? It'll be, and because there is a military figure in issue 4, so I wanted that homage.
Nice. Yeah, no, for real. That looks like it's going to be a fun one. So issue number 4 is already in the works, guys. So make sure that people are going to be able to sign up for that in just a few weeks.
The first week in November, yeah,
just a few weeks. Everything's coming down the pike so fast, bro. End of the year's coming. All kinds.
It's crazy, yo. There's a chill in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I'm outside today. I was like, brr. I was
I
like,
have a friend who lives out there in Texas. He said it was like 40 degrees over there. 40 degrees
yeah,
is
it
cold.
was like, whoa,
Yeah,
it's like, I said,
yeah,
it's a little chilly. I gotta
it's
get my, you know,
getting chilly, dog.
I rock a hood all year round, so it doesn't really matter. So I was like, I was prepared, but it was like, man, it's a lot of brisk out here.
Yeah, word. I got my hoodie. On, bro. I'm ready to rock. But you know what else? George is lagging. Oh no! See, that's because my people's in the building. Look at me. I'm looking all grainy and stuff. I just see myself online. Ooh, terrible, terrible.
Word.
Anyway, so what? Before you lose me, why don't we go to our next segment, Sam? Why don't we do a little?
I haven't heard that in a minute, Jorge
No.
Medina.
Let's do this.
I haven't heard this in a minute. I think I need my meds.
It's time for your medicine.
Our comic book shops, the villains.
Yo, I'm looking real grainy on screen. I'm looking at myself right now like I'm going into the witness protection program. But
Word.
as long as you can hear me, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
I hear you perfectly.
All right, hopefully I'm going through. But yes,
No, I think it's just that your image sometimes
yeah,
comes off.
my image is
Yeah.
blurry. Yes, our comic book shops, the villain, or our indie creators and indie publishers playing the victim. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, Sam. We're gonna talk about it because I'll tell you how the
snaps.
idea. I'll tell you how the idea for this.
Yeah, please
for this
explain
topic
to
came.
me, please.
So again, big shout out. Listen, I'm a big consumer of podcasts of other fellow indies that are doing their thing. I love, I drive all day, so I'm listening to podcasts all day. And I came across the one that Lori does. Lori Kakatera has a podcast in the morning, and she had Chris Salov as a guest. Now, for those who don't know who Chris Salov is, he's another indie creator who has a book called Crit, CRIT. We had him on the show. He's got a
Successful
Kickstarter
launch,
going on.
killed it.
Yeah. He's got a Kickstarter that's going on right now. Him and Dan Price did a Kickstarter launch together. So I was listening to the show, and Chris brought up an interesting point. And big shout out to you, Chris, because he talked about he knows somebody who owns a comic book shop, and so he had a conversation with him. He said, what makes you kind of like, how do you decide what indies to put on your shelves? Essentially, how do you decide if indies are going to come on the shelf?
Right.
And this shop owner gave him a straight up answer. It's a business at the end of the day, and he needs to make money. The problem with indies still is that stigma, right? That stigma. Are we going to do the second issue? What else are we going to do? Is it just a one shot kind of thing where he puts it up on the shelves, everybody's excited about it, and it never comes out again? Or is there more behind this book? And I think that that's still happening even today. And so, no, I personally don't think that the shops are villains when they say no to us. I just think we have to prove to them that we can make them money on their shelves. The issue is, how do we convince them when they don't know you? Now, when we were starting out and when we were doing this back in the day, Sam, when we were trying to do the guerrilla marketing we were doing and we were trying to get into stores, we went to Midtown Comics and they were very happy to put our stuff on the shelves. They were very open to it. They were open to supporting, but they knew us. We used to go there all the time, right? When you went to Texas, it was a different story. They didn't know who you were, so they were reluctant to put you on the shelf.
They did me like DJ Jazzy Jeff in the Fresh Prince. They're like, I was like, oh, I was out, get out.
So that was the question. Are they villains for not putting us on the shelves, or are we just playing the victim and we should just, entice them to get us in there? What do you think? And those watching, what do you guys think?
See, my experience was I wasn't asking to put my books on the shelves. I was asking to put my postcards on the counter to promote the campaigns, and they weren't willing to do that. So there was no risk to them at all, but they weren't even willing to do that. So that was where my frustration came from. I was like, I get real estate, and you don't know me, you don't know my book, you don't know anything about it, right? So if you would have said, how many followers do you have, all that stuff. If it was a book that I was trying to place, I get that conversation. But the problem that I had was just that it doesn't take up.
but didn't they didn't really have indies in their store, right? Like when you looked around the store,
Most of them
right?
didn't. They
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. That's what I'm saying.
and when they did, they only had like maybe a few titles from Image and Baby Boom, and that was it. But I understand because the indie communities created this stigma. Number one, inconsistent. There's never follow-up issues. There's always turmoil in the camp, so things fall off. So there's that reputation that we've created and we own as a community. Um, I my remedy for that is like one of the things like with There's Nothing in My Toilet is until the series is done, I'm not even considering comic stores. Once I have them all ready to go, 12 issues, then I can go to Diamond or a distributor and say, this is a 12 issue miniseries. All 12 issues are ready to go. You won't miss a beat. Here's what it is, and then let's go from there. Or if I'm talking to a comic store, I can go there with the 12 issues. So like, boom. So every month I can come and drop off another issue. But and do it that way. So this way it builds confidence locally in your tri-state area. I think that's what indies have to do is that you have to go and demonstrate that you already have done your homework. You understand the risk to them. You're trying to minimize the risk by being prepared and having everything, all your ducks in a row. So so when you're going to a shop because you had a successful Kickstarter, but you only had one issue, and the next issue is not going to be for 8 months, there's no shop that's going to, unless it's a friend of yours, that's going to want to take that risk because if they build it, it's a waste of money for them, and they could be putting a Marvel comic on that shelf that's going to sell. You know what I mean? So I understand that. I just don't understand the other side of it, where the little things of the flyers that I don't understand. But I get it. It's a business, and it's a tough business. I mean, hats off to all those comic shop owners for doing what they do, providing these brick and mortar locations to house comics that are inconsistent, right? The comic, and right now the comics, the people that are carrying the comic industry is Marvel and DC, and DC is going through turmoil right now. So there's a lot of, and then there's been a lot of sales that have been lost because of all of this stuff that's been happening in society, and DC's try to accommodate everybody, but realizing that they have a specific audience in comics and they need to just stay focused and true to their characters, and that's it. When you're trying to appease a community of people that never bought a comic and never will, you're gonna lose the game. You want to do it with your movies, do it with your movies. We don't do it with the comic books because the collectors are a different breed. So I get it. I understand. I don't hold any ill will or have any ill will towards the comic shop owners. They have a tough job as it is. We got to do better as a community. That's my side.
Yeah, I think that also you got to remember with COVID, there were a lot of stores that were on the verge or on the brink of shutting down, and they were. I mean, because Diamond stopped distributing to them, they weren't getting any books into the stores, and so they had to scramble to stay open. So now, when you walk in with a comic book that maybe doesn't have a following yet or whatever, they may just say, no, we're not going to take that chance. And like there are stores, however, that will take that chance. And I got to give a big shout out to the Spider's Web here at my local comic book shop. Paul and those guys, they opened their doors to indies doing signings in
Yeah.
their store. It's that they're that open to indies where like
Oh, I
they
mean,
just say,
Chris Hayes.
come
Chris
in.
Hayes. We
Yeah,
just met. He introduced himself to me at the Fan
absolutely.
Expo. He followed up with me at the other convention, and he was actually at this last fan festival,
Mhm.
and he's invited me to just do a round table with a bunch of artists that he's going to live stream, and we're going to draw, and
Yeah.
it's going to be open, whatever. So I appreciate those shop owners that are looking out, that are trying to help us. But we got to do our part in that relationship.
Yeah, no, I think, and part of the point was that it's not that we're saying, oh well, all comic book shops are this. They're not all comic book shops are built the same, right? Some comic book shop owners, like Chris, for example, like Paul over they understand that indies kind of like are the engine that keeps this thing going, right? Original stories, brand new stories nobody's ever heard of. That that's the stuff that's going to keep it going. But they also understand that I got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So some things are going to make I need stuff that's definitely going to fly off the shelves. Now, I think part of our job, Sam, is to not only just put our books on the shelf, but also make sure that people come in to buy them. I told you this earlier. Putting a book in a store and not telling anybody that's at that store is like putting a campaign on Kickstarter and not telling anybody that you have a campaign on Kickstarter. Nobody's going to go pledge, right? Same thing. People aren't going to walk through the door. The thing that you want to show that store owner once you put your book on the shelf is that people are going to come in and buy it, because that's going to prompt them to say, hey, George, that book that you brought in, do you have any more of those copies? Because they're gone, right? And now you're like, oh, snap. Yeah, sure. I'll bring you more copies. Now they're ready for issue number 2 whenever you put out issue number 2. And you should have issue number 2. One of the things that Diamond, I think, would put the prerequisites was to have three chapters or 3 comics, 3 issues in the bag before you even went to them to get distribution. So you got to kind of stay in that mode of at least 3 in the bag before you even go to a shop, because now you have 3 months to put out issue number 4, and you're always 3 months ahead. So these are the type of things that you got to think of as an indie before you even go to a store. Think about what have you done the work before you go to that shop owner and say, hey, I got a book. Because then you can say to him, dude, I got 3 issues, man. So if this sells this month, I got issue number 2, because you need that leverage to be able to get into the store. Without that leverage, they're going to be like, listen, come back when you have more. Otherwise, I can't put you. And you got to understand that there's nothing wrong with that conversation.
And there's so many things that you can do, especially if the comic shops are local within your city, right? You can say, you can, if the comic shop owns, yeah, I'll put it up. All right, so give me a couple of weeks before we put it on the shelf. I'm going to promote that it's going to be there, and then I'd like to be there the day that it gets on the shelf. If you don't mind, I want to just let people know as they're walking in, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So you should take an active role into building that confidence in the relationship with that shop owner, because he's taking a risk with you. So when you go out of your way to do something, because look at it, if you don't have distribution, you have to do that grassroots hustle, whether you like it or not, because you're not going to get that. You might get a one-off, but they might like, what, we tried it with you, it didn't work, but good luck. Put it in the hustle, no risk, no reward. And if you want to break in, and you don't have distribution, you got to put in the work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there are tons. Listen, there are lists of stores. A lot of people. What is the explanation of the series of a book? Most indies, from what I see, those creators have day jobs and can't put a comic out every month. Yeah, no, and that's why. And Mike, that's the reason why you get ahead of it. So, like for example, for those who don't know, Michael San Martino's got a book called I forget. Oh, Technogods. Technogods, right? So he's got a book called Technogods. You, for example, you're 3 issues in. There's no reason why you can't go into a store and say, hey, how about this? It's October. Say January, I come back into your store, and starting January, issue 1 comes out, February, issue 2 comes out, March, issue 3 comes out. And by then, you should have issue 4 ready to rock, right?
Yeah.
So you go to issue 4. Now, ongoing comics, ongoing series are tough, man, are tough. And that's why, as an indie, for me, what I find works best is 6 issues, put in a graphic novel, 1 arc, done. And that's it. That's my story. I'm putting that story out. To do an ongoing series takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. And a lot of indies don't have that, right? That's what we're lacking in, time and money. And that's what it takes to put a comic book out. For those who have done comics and are watching, Mike, for example, you know what it takes. It takes a team of people to do that, So it's not as easy as, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna put a comic book together. I can do this in 2 weeks. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Not if you have a daytime job. No,
complete, especially if you're doing local. I mean, again, and if this is just grassroots stuff that we're talking about. If you're trying to get into a distributor, you need to have at least 10 G's in the bank. Because Diamond's going to order a couple of thousand, right? And so you got to be able to print that, plus
that's the other thing.
Any re-ups, anything like that. So if you're looking,
that's coming out of your pocket. Nobody's paying
out of your pocket. Yeah. So if you're looking to go that route, make sure you have the bank on the capital and surplus. You got to have additional funds. If you're doing localized stuff and you're going to like 3 or 4 comic shops in your area, have 4 books in the can. So this way they know at least for 4 months straight, they're going to have follow-up issues, right? And that's where you build the confidence. Don't walk in with 1 half-baked and say, I got 1 issue. No one's going to want to take that risk unless it's a really close buddy or a family member. No one's going to want to do it. So put into work, build your credibility in a relationship. And number 1, you finished several issues. you know, you can hang your hat on that. You can stand tall on that and say, you know what, I actually accomplished what most of us in this community struggle doing. And then, you know, your confidence building as you go into the next comic shop, He's like, yo, you know, Danny's Comics has my stuff on their shelves. Can I get it on your shelves? And blah, 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 and then you build it from there, you know? But if you guys have any questions about this, let us know. Put it in the comments. We see that we have our guest in the waiting room chomping at the bits. He is waiting to talk to us about the Bouncy Bowl Man, which is a really cool story. And but before we bring him in, we're going to remind you why you should subscribe to Catch the Craze if you haven't done so already. But like I said before, you don't want to hear from us. You want to hear from our previous guests.
It's Monty Moore. I'm a 30-year comics veteran in comics, games, and movies, and you've been watching one of my absolute favorite podcasts, Catch the Craze.
You are watching Catch the Craze.
What am I listening to?
And you're listening to Catch the Craze.
Where are all the indies at?
A Catch the Craze podcast.
What are you watching?
I'm watching Catch the Craze.
What are you gonna do?
Subscribe now to Catch the Craze, the #1 show online for independent.
Have you subscribed to?
If you are an independent, catch the craze. Making moves on your own, catch the craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the craze. Join the movement, catch the craze.
What's up?
What's going on?
What's up, my brother? How you doing, man? How's everything?
Good. Dang, I
So first
put the hat
question.
forward.
First question I'm gonna ask: the pronunciation of your name.
Caleb, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. I knew it.
So what do you guess?
This guy.
Caleb?
He knew it, never even said it. He's too afraid
Who
to make
said
it.
Caleb? I said
Caleb.
Growing up, a lot of substitute teachers would say like Caleb or Caleb. My girlfriend's grandpa still calls me Caleb, even though I introduced myself.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Caleb, welcome to Catch the Craze. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sending us a PDF of the Bouncy Ball Man. Very good, very good. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much. But before we start, and because probably most people who are watching may not know you, give us a brief introduction. Tell us who you are, and then we can get going with some questions, because I have questions about these things. So let's start there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my name's Caleb. Pronounced Caleb, but you can really call me whatever you want. I grew up in Virginia. Just a real quick memoir here. I'll give you. Grew up reading comics, loving comics. Spider-Man and Batman were two of my favorites growing up from the cartoons. And then I started getting into actually reading them in high school. And then I started working in advertising. I'd always loved writing. I tried my hand at writing stand-up comedy, and wrote for my school newspaper, and I write ads for a living now. So it's just a constant need to always be writing. But this past year, I wanted to try my hand at comics. It's been something I've wanted to do for a while, and it's definitely been the most rewarding thing I've written so far.
Awesome.
And then it's brought me to you guys. So that's where the biography cuts off.
No, that's perfect. I also noticed that you mentioned Calvin and Hobbes as one of your favorite superheroes as well.
Yeah. I see the wagon in the background.
Yeah. So I hear about that. But that's interesting, man. So I know that you're a copywriter at this point, right? At the ad agency, you do a lot of that stuff. Do you incorporate? I mean, I know you're writing constantly, and that helps. Do you how do you shut it off and say, okay, now I'm going to go the creative route rather than the commercial route of writing?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's hard sometimes because when you're you are in a sense always on right. The cool thing about writing is you can do it whenever. You can come up with an idea if you're writing an ad in the shower or at midnight. But that's also the bad thing too. It could definitely consume you if you're not careful. I've definitely fallen in this trap too of I'll walk by, I'll think of something cool or see something cool, and my first thought will be how can I turn that to immediately corporatize this really cool thing I found. So yeah, you have to be careful. I've found just with creating anything, whether it's for your job or like on the side, you have to take like mental breaks. Like you have to just like watch a movie to watch a movie, or like read a book to read a book. Like you have to find ways to turn your brain off. And like, that's how you actually recharge creatively.
It really is hard, man, because you watch movies or you watch shows with that critical eye always, right? Like, oh, they probably should have done that this way. They probably should have done that way, kind of thing. Because you're always thinking about how to write something, whether it's not, I want to say better, but necessarily, but writing something. And so when you do that, when you sit down and you write for your comic book, for example, does it start with the character, a plot, something you saw while you're walking down the street? Where does the idea come from when you're creating your next comic?
Oh man, if I knew, I'd have a lot more. I'd probably be talking to you guys in my mansion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where ideas come from, but I know like a lot of times for me, like a story or like just an idea, it'll pop in with like something like kind of random, like for Bouncy Ball Man. The idea came. I took a drawing class during the pandemic, and I did not draw this comic. That was my artist Rick Alves. He's great, and I'm not very good, but there's this like unit on. It was for cartoon drawing, so it was like combining different shapes to like make people. It was like kind of an exercise they did. So there's this one where like they wanted you to make like this guy out of like geometric shapes, and I drew this circle, and then I was like, that kind of looks like a giant ball, and I kind of like just drew this stupid little drawing of what would become Bouncy Ball Man. But then I don't know, like you just start thinking like after I drew that, I was thinking like what kind of guy would like this be? Like who would have this?
Right.
And I would do that as a kid a lot too. Like my dad had this like Tolkien calendar like in his workshop, and this was like when I was a little kid and like hadn't read any of the books. But I would just like start creating these scenarios in my mind of like, wow, I wonder like what the story behind that is. I was completely wrong. And like it was way worse than what actually was there. But like, yeah, just like taking an idea and just like expanding on it and running with it. Like I think some of the best work out there, like comics and beyond, is like I really admire people who can take like a really simple or really stupid premise and then just play it completely straight, like to its
right. Well, that's the beauty of the Bouncy Ball Man. And for those who don't know, the Bouncy Ball Man is the story that Caleb created. It's a comic book that you funded on Kickstarter, and it was successfully funded. I think it ended back in July. But so that story, for example, it's a stunt man, right? Here's this stunt man. He's got an agent, he's looking for the next gig, and they put him in this ball, literally a ball, and he's supposed to do these stunts. Why a Hollywood stuntman? Like, where did the idea for the Hollywood stuntman came out? Like, what was that whole thing like?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like what I was saying before when I was like thinking like, who would have this like crazy costume? Like, what would that look like in the real world? And maybe it's because I work in an ad agency, but like the first thought that came to mind is like, I bet an ad agency would do this. Like if they had some kind of bouncy ball for a product, I bet they would put someone in a costume and like make them do something. And then, I think, originally I like very briefly considered him to like just be an actor, but then I'm like, if he's going to do all these like crazy stunts and bounce moves, it would make sense that they'd hire a stunt man. And then I just kind of like worked from there. Like what kind of guy would be forced into this gig? Like it's, probably someone at the end of his career rather than the beginning, probably someone that like has made a few enemies in the business and has some personal like development to do himself. So kind of spun out.
When I read it, I thought about 3 different movies, right?
Right.
I thought of The Fall Guy because the stunt man, right? I thought of Turbo Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was that? The Jingle All the Way. And Mel Gibson, right? Lethal Weapon, right? So it's like this guy has this personality, like he's fearless, right? He's a stunt man. He's fearless. He's not taking crap for anybody. Yeah, he's down in the dumps. And but I also, the question that I have is, you had a choice. Go with a younger audience or go with a more mature audience with this topic? And because it has violence, it has profanity. So what made you decide to go right instead of left?
Yeah, that was definitely a decision like early on. And I think I tried a version of my first draft without any of the violence and or the profanity. I think a version of that could work. Like there's comics I enjoy that are like all ages or YA or something, but I just thought it would be when you see like someone called Bouncy Ball Man who's in a bright neon costume, like the first thought is that it would be like for children.
Right.
Or for like a younger audience. And I kind of wanted to challenge myself and just see like, what if he wasn't? Like, what if, like, yeah, we have this like ridiculous premise, like he's in this suit, but like, what if like everything else was like played kind of straight, like in the real world? Like, what if he wasn't fighting supervillains? What if he's fighting like a real threat, which is who he fights in this first issue? He fights a motorcycle gang.
Yeah, because that opening sequence is pretty up there, right? So you have the two buddies, whatever, and they're having a go at it, and then when you see that camera turn, and
that's my favorite panel in the book, and it's kind of gruesome. I really hope I didn't like confuse anybody that like thought it was gonna be. I did try and put tags, on the sites, letting people know what the audience was. But.
Right.
No, I mean, you've done a great job with the pacing, the storytelling, the visuals. The other question would be, why you chose to go black and white versus full blown color?
There's two reasons. One is I'll say the lame reason first. Like one is this is my first comic. I'm an indie writer. It's cheap. It's just cheaper to print in black and white.
Cost effective.
That's just the reality. However, like that isn't the only reason. I did it. I did consider getting like a colorist. My artist Rick also does coloring. He does a good job. He did the colors for the cover. But like I was saying, I grew up with Spider-Man and Batman. But my first like time reading like a comic was I went to the library and I got Marvel's Essentials, like those old trade paperbacks with all the like back issues from like Stan Lee and Kirby and John Romita. And that was kind of my like first foray into comics. So I read through like this Daredevil one, and then I got my hands on like all the essential trades that my library had. And I just love that like black and white look. I mean, Calvin and Hobbes, like I've always I really dig like the black and white aesthetic. And I thought just apart from the cost too, and my love of the aesthetic, it could kind of be funny with a character with such a colorful costume be relegated to black and white as a medium. I do think as I'm in the midst of kind of putting together scripts and fundraisers for the next few issues. I'm toying with the idea of like making, when it comes out in trade, like making that in color and seeing maybe what that would look like, but I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Anibal Arroyo's here. He says that when describing the character, reminded him of Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. He was definitely an inspiration. Yeah. Right on the money.
So that sounds about right. Now I did read on your campaign where you had something, we were talking about pacing. You mentioned something about, as the more funds you get in, you can add scenes, you know what I mean? That you want to add scenes for the pacing. Do you find that keeping those scenes out hurt the pace at all, or do you think that it didn't? And how do you keep it from hurting it when you have to remove things if there isn't enough, say for example, money to produce the amount of pages you want to produce?
Yeah. Well, I had I think what you're referring to is like the bonus story.
Yes.
So I made sure I had an idea for the bonus story. At the end, that's the color, like one page, like kind of hostess ad at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew that I wanted that to be like superfluous and like kind of not relevant to the main plot, but just kind of like a fun add-on, because I didn't you bring up a good point. I didn't want to I wanted to have the full story, and just any add-ons were just completely bonus. But no matter what, whether I raised the funds or not, like I still wanted to deliver a complete product.
Yeah. No, and you did. I thought it was great. A question about that last page though. Are those balls available? Like, are you planning
No,
on making those things? Because that's cool, bro.
Yeah, no, I think, and you're not the first one to say that. I think for my next Kickstarter, I've been looking into companies like how much it would cost to buy how many like bouncy balls with your logo on it. I think I will have that as some kind of rewards package.
Yeah, no,
for
I
the
think
next
that
one.
that would be great, man. That would be
It's
great.
it's a great guy. Number one, who your illustrator? How did you find the artist?
Mm.
Reddit. Yeah.
Wow.
There's and I think I saw it, it's Rick Alves. Said that before. He's great. Highly recommend him. But yeah, I saw he did work for Sidekick for Hire. I don't know if you guys had Christian Herrera on the show, but that's a really good book. And I saw Rick's art for that, and I once I found him on Reddit, I started looking through that, and I thought it really matched the tone of like the book I was trying to get. So yeah, he posted like, "Hey, artist looking for work," and I messaged back. And we started going back and forth on emails. He's in Brazil, so we've faces, and somehow it worked. Like, yeah.
That's
awesome.
sweet. 'Cause, I mean, he did a fantastic job with,
Oh,
there was this one overhead shot, bird's eye view in the office, and you chose to go with a glass table, and you silhouetted the legs. I thought it was. I mean, I was like, wow,
That was all him. Yeah,
he
yeah.
did a fantastic job, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that would look like, But the perspective, the visuals, the characters, the emotion. I mean, the guy did a really solid job with this book. I mean, and it stands tall, black and white.
yeah. You know what it is? I think, Sam, and to your point, I think when you have a black and white book, you want to make sure that the artist is a solid artist.
Yes.
And his style also kind of goes hand in hand with the story you're telling, because
Yeah.
it's although it's not I don't want to say it's cartoony, because it isn't cartoony, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's not like that stiff, superhero big arms. Even the guys, the guys who are in the gang, they're not like they're big, but they're still fun characters that you look at. And so it's tough when you do something like that. Did you guys have a conversation about what style he was going to draw this thing in, or you
Yeah.
kind of just yeah?
Yeah, that was one of the first conversations we had early on. He kind of just, told me what styles he thought the book would do well in, and like what we eventually arrived on was one of the ones he suggested. And I typed up a list of like physical characteristics of the characters, like kind of like what the world looks like, what the suit looks. I gave him the shitty like sketch I did of the
ball,
the original one, and he took that and like ran with it. So yeah, I sent him all that, and then like I let him feel free to like do his thing as long as he hit those notes. I was fine with him like exploring the world visually and all the characters.
Yeah. I have a question for you about the characters themselves and the world you're building. The characters look very real, and I was wondering, now that you say working in the ad agency world, are these people you've met, that you've worked with? Like, you know what I mean? Like someone like that push, that guy that's trying to create the next big toy, and like those meetings in boardrooms. Is that something that you relate to, or you wrote some of that, your real, your work into the story?
Yeah, it's not an exact lift of any one person, but that character Jerry, it's kind of a culmination of a bunch of different people I've met before.
Awesome.
Yeah, very eager to please, very like sycophantic.
I love it, man. I love it.
That is fantastic. So what's the long game for you?
Go ahead.
Long game. I mean that kind of depends on how these next few issues go. Right now I'm in some shops. I was listening to what you guys were saying before. I'm definitely in that like local shop camp. Because I'm in New York City right now, but I grew up in Virginia, so I have some issues in some shops I grew up with in Virginia and some here in New York. So right now, like trying to get some more shops. I've finished this like second issue. Regardless of how like any Kickstarter in the future may go or anything. Like I plan on finishing this. Like I have a 5-issue arc planned. And we'll just like see how it goes. Like if people keep wanting to see it made, then I'll keep making it. I'll go beyond the 5. But I think after the 5th issue, I think whether I continue it or not, I think I will take a break and try and tell like another story, maybe a one shot or like a different genre. Cause I love comics and I love all the different ways like it can bring different genres to life.
Caleb, I'm in New York. What shops in New York that I may be able to go in there and pick up a physical copy of it? Because I'd love to just have a physical copy of it. I mean, I read the PDF, but there's nothing like holding the comic.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go on to Silver Age Comics. It's in Astoria, Queens, and then actually this week I'm going to Forbidden Planet. Been trying to get a hold of this guy Matt there. He's like the indie comic guy, but he only works on the weekends, which is like the one time I can't get into.
It's so funny because our friend who's in the chat right now, Anibal, posted a picture of their selection of indie comics.
Yeah, they have a good.
It's one of the best, right? It's one of the best, and I'm so glad. How was the reception? I mean, even for the guys say at Silver Age, like what was it like? You walking into his shop and say, "Hey, I have this book." Was it a good reception, or did you find any obstacles? Like, tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, that was the first one I went to physically, just because I don't live in Virginia anymore. But I knew the Virginia shops. I grew up with those guys, so I wasn't nervous at all about like asking them. I basically like messaged them before and was just like, "Hey, I'll be in Virginia. Like, are you cool to like stock this?" They're like, "Yeah." So I was a little nervous going into this guy because I also I've been in New York for 3 years, but I just moved into this apartment. So I'd only been going to him for like a few weeks, and I didn't have that like rapport yet. But he's super, super cool. And I just, I had my backpack with the comics in there. Like I didn't want to show it yet. I made sure, because I was going to go buy comics there anyway. And then I just kind of like testing the waters. I was like, "Yeah, do you stock any like local artist comics or anything?"
Yeah.
And he was saying that yeah, every now and then he did. And then I'm like, "Cool." And then I like put the backpack on the counter.
Bam!
Like if you're into this, and he gave shelf space too. He's got a local artist section as well. So highly recommend that shop if you're ever in Astoria.
Yeah, I'm gonna check.
How did it make you feel? Getting over that hump, that hurdle of approaching a shop owner for the first time and having that conversation. And when you walked away knowing that your book was on the shelf, how did that make you feel?
Oh man, like it's I used to do stand up, and I also used to like sell sunglasses, like do sales. I describe the rush as similar. Like when you bomb, like nothing feels worse than bombing in front of a live audience, whether that's like some guy you're like selling sunglasses to or a crowd you're telling jokes to. But when you succeed, like there's no high that compares to that either. So yeah, it felt pretty good. I definitely got a photo. And
yeah, dude, Caleb, you have to come down to Yonkers. There's a store called the Spider's Web. There's a gentleman
I've heard of the Spider's Web, but I'm definitely down and check it out.
There's a gentleman there. His name is Paul. Really nice guy. I'm sure if you talk to him, he may even let you do a signing at the store. Like he's really open to that kind of stuff. So if you're ever like Yonkers is a train right away from where you are, so it's not too far. You should definitely check it. It's right across from the raceway, the Yonkers Raceway. So you can't miss it. It's right across the street from it. Definitely go in there and check him out. Really nice guy. He's got a nice selection of stuff in there also.
Yeah, check out another shop.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, absolutely. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad you're going in there on your own and saying, "Hey, man, I got a book. Can you throw it on the shelves?" And the reception is good, because that's what we were talking about. Sometimes it's not, we can't just bring the shop. Sometimes we gotta approach them and make them feel like, "Hey, this can be sold. This is good stuff right here." The quality matters, and you definitely have quality in your book, brother. So yeah, no,
thank
absolutely.
you.
So do you have any conventions planned for this year at all?
Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Are you doing any Comic Cons, any shows, any appearances?
Yeah, that's the next step. I've been someone you've had on the show, Keith Gleason. He did Mighty Mascots.
Yeah.
I talked to him last week. I was kind of picking his brain. He's got a great series on YouTube, all about like doing conventions, like basically a how-to guide. So I've been binging that. It's great. So yeah, that's like the next step. That's the thing with like creating comics. It's like you're really writing like 5% of the time. Like 95% of the time it's something completely unrelated to any of it. It's like booking conventions or like
That's right. Because now you got to think about your setup and what the setup is going to look like. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he goes through that and like just covers
It's
things I
awesome.
would have like never
It's
thought
so
of.
good. Yep. And for those who are like Keith Gleason, the name of the show is Indie Comics Relay. And he has a really good, like you said, he has a really good series. And every convention he goes to, he breaks down what was good about the convention, what was bad, and things like that. He's got Plastic Cities. Is that the convention that you're going to?
Yeah. And his comic series, Mighty Mascots. That's really good.
Oh, it's really good. Really good. Yes, really very good. But yeah, no, this has been fun, Caleb, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my brother. So other than obviously at the stores where you have, is there a website where people can pick up your book, or how can they get your book if they're not in the New York or Virginia area?
Yeah, you can get it online. It's on what's left of Comixology, I guess, like Amazon's Kindle. You can get a PDF there, or you can go to Global Comics. The first issue there is for free to get you started reading that, and I'll keep releasing issues there.
Sweet.
Outstanding. Awesome. And where are you on social media?
You can find me my portfolio site has all my contact. That's calebyork.work. I'm on Twitter at Caleb Zoo Crew. Made that in high school. Don't judge. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's great having you on the show. Congratulations on getting, on doing the legwork and getting yourself into some physical stores and a successful launch of your campaign. And I've been looking forward to seeing more from you. So when you're ready to promote the second issue, hit us up.
Thank you. Yeah. This is awesome. This is definitely like, no joke, like the best production quality of any indie comic show out there. It's awesome. Yeah.
Appreciate
you. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, my brother. Well, Caleb, you're welcome back anytime, man. Not just because you said some nice things, but because you actually do have some good stuff, bro.
No, it's because he said some nice things.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. Yes. You have a great evening, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Do the same.
Awesome.
All right, so that was Caleb. And again, guys, check it out. The link is in the summary. So if you want to check it out on Global Comics, you can go ahead and do so. Bouncy Bowl Man is worth it. Go and check it out. It is fun. It's a fun read. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it is a fun read. And the artwork, man, like you said, it's black and white. And this is black and white, not grayscale. It's straight up black and white. Like it's line work. It's black and white, but it works. And the letters, and we didn't talk about that, but the lettering on the book is very good. So it doesn't look like it's not jarring. The quality is very good, production quality wise. And then they have that fun little thing at the end.
That was good. I enjoyed that too.
That was nice. So so definitely check it out. Caleb York, the book is The Bouncy Bowl Man. If you're in the New York area, it's at Silver Age Comics in Astoria. And if you're in Virginia, check out his website, because then you'll be able to check out maybe where we didn't ask him the stores in Virginia. But no, big shout out to him, man. And this was fun, man. We haven't done a live one like this in a minute. And thank you to everyone who joined in the chat.
Yeah. And and I do want to shout out YouTube. I do want to shout out a new subscriber tonight to the channel. This one's not a hidden, so I can actually see who it was. Mark Jones. Thank you, Mark Jones, for subscribing to Catch the Craze tonight. We appreciate your support. Because we've had several new subscribers to the channel, but they're confidential, so you can't see who it is. But whenever we get somebody where we can see, we want to shout them out.
There you go. Yeah, so thank you. And the road to 1,000 continues, guys. So please share the link to our channel with friends, and let's get it up there. Let's get it to 1,000 before the end of the year. I mean, it's not that far away from now, but hopefully we can get there. And tomorrow we are back with another live episode. And,
we have David Howard.
David Howard will be on the show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So make sure you check that out. And then obviously on Thursday morning, we're going to be doing some live stuff again.
The Morning Brew.
The Morning Brew with the Crazy Crew. So check that out. Yes, sir.
Yeah, check that out. And don't forget, we're down to the last 47 hours of the campaign. If you haven't backed it, I would love for you to get a copy of There's an Alien in My Toilet, either for yourself or somebody that you care about, or the little ones. I'd like to break the 49 backers. We get to 75 backers, you're getting 4 independent comic book downloads from JD Calderon, Daphne Lage, and JD Rosario, and you're getting 2 prints. So a lot to unpack that you'll get for free if we get to 75. So all we need is 26 more backers. Can we do that in the next 47 hours? If you can share, post, pledge, and if you're trying to get a Christmas present, Duty makes a great Christmas gift. I'm just saying, so I love for you to read it and laugh with me. But yeah, this was a good show, and I liked and I prefer it this way. I prefer this is the first time we're doing our format live, so it's pretty dope.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. We're going to keep it up. We will have another topic for you guys tomorrow, and we'll discuss it, and you guys can tell us what you guys think. Thank you so much to Michael Sammartino, for getting involved in the conversation. We appreciate you. Crystal, always. Obviously, Aniba. Jonathan came out of nowhere. Jonathan was in the house. I don't know if he's still in the house, but welcome, sir. We haven't seen you in a while, right? Gilbert was out there at Ellie's, came through to say what's up.
JS?
Yeah. Jay Salazar, Mr. Salazar.
Yeah.
How are you, sir? Thank you so much for coming through. So,
and everybody who's been watching silently on Facebook and on Twitch, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode. Let us know how you feel about it, and help those algorithms work for us. So thumbs up if you liked it. Join us tomorrow live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and again on Thursday morning. And you can always join me on my live drawers. I will probably come on live tomorrow Thursday afternoon to close out the campaign. And I would love for you to join me as well there too. So
don't forget Cowtown this weekend, Sam.
That's right. Yes, I will be at Cowtown Comic Con. If you're going to be in Texas, if you're coming to the Comic Con, sign Duty's yearbook with your sketch of Duty for a free gift. So Duty has a yearbook, and we're going to fill up his yearbook with your version of Duty in the book, and I'm going to have the pencil and the pad ready for you to just rock out, and you're going to walk away with a free gift, and we're going to have fun. I'm looking forward to Cowtown Comic Con. I'm looking forward to having fun. I had fun at the Fan Festival. Watch for that video that's coming out on the Fan Festival. I'm editing it right now, but it should be a one-day show. It's not a 3-day show. 2 days were just lackluster. The Saturday, it should just be a Saturday show for the Fan Festival. And I think the consensus was from everybody on the floor that they felt the same way. But Cowtown sounds like it's going to be a party, and I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to hanging out with more indies over there. So, with that said, I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
George the Dreamer Medina.
And we are
It's just easy. It does not. Crazy.
No, it's about my friend Acquis. I met him. Say my name, right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh,
how you describe me? He said, I'm the
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze on Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.
girl.